So recently there was a video that kind of irked me to the point of making me come out of YouTube hibernation.
Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. Hammer curls are stupid.
That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
You should
I like how he's basically memeing or mocking himself, or maybe just all of YouTube where, oh, I say something controversial at the beginning of the video, and then later the nuance comes. And I feel like that nuance is getting pushed further and further back to the point where there's like this little bar of text box in the bottom of the end of the video where it's like, hey, actually, we don't believe this. We just got you to click on a video and sell our shit. Like, that's all this is. Ah, ha, ha, ha.
Hammer curls are stupid, and if you do them, so are you.
So you have chosen for me to make a video on you. And that's probably what these people want, right? It's just for attention. At this point, it is literally saying controversial, stupid bullshit to get other people to make videos on you, because in the fitness industry, pretty much any attention is going to make you money.
Just kidding, fellas.
You ever had a friend where they say wild stuff and then they're like, just kidding? That kind of person can sometimes be fun to have around, but you cannot take them seriously. And that is where Dr. Mike is at this point. He's more of like the court jester of the fitness industry.
And I'm saying they're not that great. Let's expand this. Why? I'm never going to just tell you stuff and not explain why, unless it's on a podcast where I'm being asked 50 questions per second, and then I just say a bunch of bullshit I hope makes sense.
Podcasts love people like Dr. Mike who say wild, controversial stuff. You clip that stuff, you send it out into the universe, and everyone wins. Well, not the viewer of the but Dr. Mike wins, they win, and like that's all that really matters.
There are two muscles that are targeted well by hammer curls. The brachialis, which is the primary target, and the brachioradialis, which is the secondary target. They both contribute a ton.
I agree. Yep. Brachialis, brachioradialis, spot on. And these two areas are very, very often lagging in the vast majority of physiques that I see. This shit. Yeah, all this shit up here. And if you do a front double biceps, this over here, that's pretty darn important.
The brachialis is located underneath the bicep. It's the muscle that sits like right here. If I was remotely lean, you could see it, but I'm not, so you can't.
So leanness does contribute. If someone says, oh, I can't see my abs right now, like that's fair enough. But a lot of it is just muscular development. I have never seen his brachialis. Even when he's totally shredded, it's just not very developed, right? And so if you want to get an area more visible, either get leaner or actually maybe isolate and develop the area. I don't know, maybe it's kind of basic shit.
First, a lot of people, when they go, hey, like flex your bicep, they're not like, wait, hold on, Stacy. Look, can you see this shit right here? She's like, you're covering up your bicep. It's just important. It's my fucking brax, brah. You're a fucking real man. Arm wrestlers have bigger brax, or whatever kind of copium you're smoking that day.
You okay, Dr. Mike? Is everything okay? It sounds like there's some copium going on over there.
Getting your brachialis and your brachioradialis to be bigger doesn't give you that rounded pop bicep look, which I don't have.
Yeah, you don't know how to train those either. The issue is you're not flexing your biceps 99% of the time or more, unless you walk down the street just like, hey, look at me, everyone, look at me, come see how good I look.
Hey, everyone, come and see how good I look.
No, most of the time, your arm is by your side, where actually the brachialis is significantly more important than just the bicep. Now, the good news is you can have both if you actually know how to train intelligently.
You listen to Tony Braxton when you're fucking 90s people. What's up?
All right, I'll give him that. He doesn't know that much about training, but his reference game is on point. So that's what matters in YouTube, right?
If you hammer curl your way to the moon, you may not like the work that you put in making your arm look kind of is not that pop, that Ronnie Coleman, that Arnold fucking bicep peak.
Yeah, both of them had extremely developed brachialises, brachialites, break it down. It's not like they had much better biceps than brachialis. How do you pluralize that word?
You just don't get a whole lot of that from hammer curls.
Man, I just cannot work my way around this conundrum. The math is just not do both. do both. If the hammer curl is not as good for the biceps, do something else for your biceps. It's not that difficult, right? This is like saying, don't do squats because you're doing RDLs, right? They're hitting different areas. You can see, once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is the emperor's new clothes. Once someone's like, so actually Dr. Mike doesn't know very much about biomechanics or exercise selection or technique, you're like, oh, holy shit, he doesn't. Like, you actually look at his form and you're like, his upright rows are like this. Like, of course he's going to have weak points in his physique, despite taking ridiculous amounts of steroids and growth hormone and enough to grow his fucking head into the size of a bowling ball, but it didn't grow his arms, right? Because I think even if you're enhanced, the training matters. There's this idea that, oh, if you're enhanced, you just take steroids and grow. I think to a certain point, but this is such clear evidence that the training still matters. When a natural guy is mogging you, yeah, play the genetics card, but it's the training. That is the thing that is the most important. And to have this much reach and this bad of advice is actually really, I don't know, disappointing, disgusting, one of those words.
So that's number one. A lot of people are doing this shit, and then in the mirror they go like this, and it's like, but maybe you could hit a most muscular in the mirror, and maybe the brax will pop up out of that way, or like from the side. But it's just a thing, like, you know what you're getting.
Everyone knew this. Everyone knew this. Like, this is not some gotcha moment. No one was doing hammer curls for the biceps, okay? This is... Video did not need to be made and should not have been made. Actually, the comments are pretty brutal. I had no idea hammer curls were killing my gains. Thanks, AthleanX. That is literally the AthleanX business model. Pick a movement that a whole bunch of people do and everyone likes and is effective, and say, oh, actually, no, it's shit. Oh, actually, because it's going to get clicks, right? Because people are risk averse and it causes controversy. But you're not going to get off the hook by maintaining your credibility. Controversy, credibility, pick one, and it's clear the choice that you have made, Dr. Mike. Brachioradialis is exactly why I do them. Love the look my arm gets when these are developed. Dr. Mike, you will never know that love. And next comment, and here I am, a new customer of Mike's app, and it has me doing hammer curls in the first week. I feel awkward. This is where there are so many instances that I don't think he actually believes the shit that he is saying. As soon as the RP app came out, they were like, all right, we got to speed run clicks and views. We got to have AI develop the thumbnails and titles. Oh, it's not me. Like, we're not doing it. It's only AI that we have run. And so it's hard to say how much of the BS that he spews he actually believes. And when you get to that point, you cannot take this kind of person seriously. They're too far gone. They have become the algo's bitch. I'm noticing Dr. Mike coming out with more content that is highly contentious must be an engagement farming thing. Hammer curls are absolutely not a stupid exercise. So I think that's exactly what it is. And maybe I'm giving him what he wants, but there has to be some pushback, because the normal, I mean, there's pushback in the comments, right? But there's also a lot of comments where like, oh, I had no idea hammer curls were a bad exercise. And so they are targeting beginners. I don't want to quite call them V-Shred, but that's sort of the V-Shred model as well. Just go on Facebook, run a bunch of ads, run a bunch of YouTube ads, and kind of just target people who have no clue.
Know what you're getting. If you think hammer curling is going to round out and expand your bicep, it's just not a thing.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's kind of been like a bro thing, a sort of lifting wisdom thing where, oh, you develop the brachialis and it pushes the biceps up. I'm not entirely sure about it, but it also is not going to hurt having more meat in that area, right? Just having more muscle mass on your arm. I mean, is that something you're averse to, Dr. Mike? I think it's actually probably something you could maybe use.
If you train your biceps for maximum hypertrophy over the course of a week, multiple sessions, you can accumulate 20, 30, or even 40 or more working sets for your bicep if you ease into it over time per week.
So certainly I've been pretty high volume before, and that was a mistake on my part. And so usually if I hear very high volumes, it's either sandbagging the sets or the technique is questionable, or in Dr. Mike's case, both. So if your sets are very far away from failure, and you're doing the pageantry of the failure, the grunting, the groaning, that all stuff, that doesn't matter. Like, I want to see a dramatic and significant rep speed slowdown, right? To make sure you're actually near failure, or just take it to failure, right? Because it's a curl, right? And then technique is often an issue. So yeah, if you're doing 40 sets of biceps a week, yeah, you might have to worry about recovery issues, but you could probably get more from less.
And with each one of those still benefit more and more and more.
Even in the most optimistic way of thinking, it's not going to be more and more and more. It's going to be helping you less and less and less, although maybe he's thinking about things in a slightly different way. But either way, I think if you're even thinking about 40 sets of biceps per week, and you're like, I can't fit in brachialis work, I'm too busy doing my 40 sets. I think you really need to reassess probably your entire view of training.
So if your MRV locally for biceps is so high and you want that rounded peak of big biceps, it kind of makes sense to be like, okay, I only have so much time to train in the gym. And if during my arm workout, I got triceps, I got biceps, but I also spend a lot of time on forearms and a ton of time on bracs, by doing fucking hammer curls, then all of a sudden you could just have been doing more bicep work and you get that awesome rounded bicep peak situation that you've always wanted.
So I don't think this would check out with any other muscle groups, right? If you're like, man, why are you doing so much hamstrings? Could have been working on your quads instead. What? Yeah, why are you working your back? All that time, you could be building your chest instead. And I realize there's like more overlap between brachialis work and biceps work, but there's probably less overlap than you think, especially once you're past the beginner stage. Yeah, like once you're a beginner, like just yeah, like row stuff. You probably don't even need curls at all. Just like work reasonably hard and try to progressively overload. But if you take that mindset into your intermediate phase, you are going to stay as an intermediate.
If getting bicep jackness was like filling a cup with orange juice, the biceps are like a 2 or 3 gallon mega cup. You just got to keep filling.
The thing is, if you have shitty technique and you're nowhere near failure, you are filling with a thimble. So yeah, you're going to need a lot of sets of those little shitty thimble sets. Rumple thimbles. I don't know. Editor, cut that out. That was, I don't know where I was going with that. But if you actually have good technique and you're pushing really, really hard, you get more than a thimble. You get a whole cup, you know, so you might need far fewer sets in order to get the same or significantly better results.
And so anytime you come into the gym and you're like, I want to train my forearm flexion muscles, the biceps have the most visual distinction, the most aesthetically pleasing look, and they just kind of always need more training and will benefit from more training in most circumstances.
Again, this whole worldview of training hinges on the assumption that the sets are shit, right? But I guess he's bigger than Mike Menzer, right? And he knows more than Mike Menzer. So, you know, I'm not saying Mike Menzer was right. There's probably some balance in the middle ground. But if I see someone doing 30 or 40 sets for biceps, should I go to 60? Is that it? Yeah, volume is the main driver. No, my thought is like, okay, well, there's something wrong with your sets, or maybe you're just doing way too much, right? Maybe the cup, whatever analogy he used, is overflowing and you actually need to do a little bit less. But usually it's the technique or the effort, and often it is both. And in his case, it is both. That is going to shape your worldview of training, because like, oh, just take more gear and do more volume, just move around more. Yeah, you're going to get bigger, but the quality of the muscle might be lacking.
It's that almost every single row that you can think of and vertical pull that you can think of are performed with a hammer grip.
I use the grip for a lot of things, but that doesn't make it a good stimulus. You can see the way he's pulling here. He's pulling like this, where, yeah, I mean, if it's almost like you're doing a pull-up as a hammer grip, right? Whoa, sorry, Jojo. You want to get in the camera. You want to be on YouTube. You want to be on YouTube. Look at those. Look at those guns. Oh yeah, flexing. Oh, he gets so much doggy action. Anyway, Chocho's been using Boostcamp. He's got a little doggy phone as well. It's so cute how he's logging and tracking all his metrics. He's been seeing crazy gains. And Boostcamp is the sponsor of today's video. You should be tracking and managing your training over time. If you're just going in and thinking progressive overload will happen, you might be right, but you also might be wrong. And so make sure that you have an app like Boostcamp at your fingertips. Plus, you get access to a ton of training programs. Some are hypertrophy focused, some are strength focused, mobility focused. There are a whole bunch of training programs written from a bunch of fantastic minds in the fitness industry. So check it out. I think you will like it. You can use code GVS for 2 free weeks of premium. Helps me out, helps the channel out, keeps things going. Thank you so much for support, and thank you to Boostcamp for sponsoring this video. And so if I saw a client doing their rows like this, or their pull downs like this, where they're all scrunched up, and yeah, it's almost like a hammer curl with a little bit of rear delts or some shit, you know what I would do? I would correct them because they're doing the movement incorrectly. So as you're doing your rows, your pull-ups, you want to be actually working the back. So if you're doing a row, like you want to actually be protracting and retracting. If you're doing a pull down, often you want to actually drive the elbows in front, right? In order to get more lats. If you're up here and you're scrunched up, like, yeah, it's a decent amount. It's not great, but it's a decent amount of brachialis. But if you're actually doing the movement in a way that stimulates the back, it's going to stimulate less arms. And as someone who's arm dominant, I actually have to concentrate in order to get them to target the back. So I do not recommend doing your compound pulling or rowing movements in a way that tries to target the brachialis. Now, if you're a beginner, I mean, sure, it will grow that area to a certain extent, but it will also hinder your progress in the future. And so I don't recommend doing that. If you want to grow an area, isolate it.
Thus, almost all rows deliver substantial amounts of muscle growth stimulus to your brachialis and brachioradialis muscles.
And again, once you see it, you really can't unsee it. So no arm day or even thinking about it, controlling the eccentric a ton, gimmicky, super light, really stretch focused movements, like going off the beaten path from what most people did because like I'm the guy who does things differently. Not doing really any hammer curl work, not doing any overhead work, relying on rows for both your brachialis and the long head of the triceps. And so often a weak point in your physique is caused by a weak point in your knowledge or an excessive amount of ego and doing things differently from everyone else. And there's a lot of wisdom in conventional bodybuilding wisdom.
Crushing out your bracs, doing pull downs and pull ups and rows, and they're accumulating substantial muscle and growth from that.
So I think that if you're a beginner, this mindset is probably fine. If someone's like, yeah, I don't really like curls, can I still grow my biceps? Yeah, probably. But at a certain point, that stops working. I know some of the models have said that, oh, a compound movement counts for roughly half as an isolation for an area. But I also think that when you're more advanced, that ratio probably breaks down and you likely need to isolate. I mean, I've seen tons and tons of powerlifters where they're doing lots of benching and their triceps just don't really seem to be growing at all. And so, yeah, once you're more advanced, I think that half a set stimulus probably is just not enough stimulus to take you over the line, especially if you are really trying to optimize your technique to hit the prime movers, right? The secondary movers just might not really be getting very close to failure. And as an advanced lifter, that is going to be more and more important.
Like, again, opportunity cost-wise, just do more biceps work and you'll get an overall better physique.
Who might argue with the doctor, right? I don't have any letters near my name. It's just the long ass name, nothing near it. So yeah, that checks out.
But you might as well do them right. And here's my beef. When I say hammer curls suck, I'm mostly targeting the fucking one dumbbell at a time, swing around, cross body fucking hammer bullshit, where you use your entire body to get the 80-pound dumbbell up and you don't control the eccentric. So you think you're training your bracs, but are you really? And the answer is no.
So I found this funny because Doug Miller, and some of you might not think he's natural. I actually think he's due, particularly after a number of people who I respect came out and strongly said, though, I think he is natural given his progression, given how he looks, given his stage weight, given all these other things. Someone has to be the GOAT, right? One of his videos that just burned into my brain was him doing hammer curls with the 100-pound dumbbells. And so it looks ridiculous. There's obviously a good deal of momentum, but it works for him and he's very in tune with his body. And I think if Dr. Mike got away from this like 5-pound big stretch, upside down bullshit, dumbbells, and actually moved a little bit more intuitively and worked with his body rather than just keeping everything super strict and almost lifting like a meme, maybe his results would be better, right? And especially when you have a massive platform, I think you have a duty to put out good information.
So instead, if you're going to do hammer curls, try to do them on a low incline or lying down. Try to do them on a free motion machine where you're always totally in control, tons of tension at the bottom with a big stretch. That's how you would train your biceps. The only thing different on hammer curls is you do biceps like this, hammer curls you do like this. Neutral grip, same good exercises, same good techniques, same good mind-muscle connection. Because a lot of times guys will train everything well, and when it comes time to doing hammer curls, it's just an excuse to take the 60s out for a ride and get fuck if I know what about them.
Train your brachialis. This muscle right here between your bicep and your tricep makes up a big portion of your arms. It also pushes your bicep peak up and kind of gives you that more of a peak look. So instead of sticking with like preacher curls and things like that, spend more time doing hammer curls. I love hammer ropes. I love heavy hammer curls. I don't get too caught up in having super strict form all the way, all the time. I spend a decent, probably half my time with a little bit more of a looser form where I can actually move some weight and really get the blood driving in there.
So that is definitely a thing. There are people who are using too much weight on hammer curls, but there are also people who maybe look like they are using too much weight, according to people like Dr. Mike, who are like super strict, controlled stretch, big stretch, all small weights, that kind of thing. It looks like they're ego lifting when in fact they have found that works best for them, and they have the results to prove it.
Autoerotic asphyxiation. So there's no 100% correct on much of anything. It's changing ideas by thinking about them, by trying them out. That means you guys trying out some shit I say do, try out some shit I say not to do. We can all gain a bit more insight together, and we can get more jacked together.
So something I've recently coined is the clickbait to credibility continuum. So basically, if you want to grow your following at a maximum rate, often clickbait and controversy is the way to go. But you also want to try to keep your credibility. So often people front load the bullshit. So the title, thumbnail, the most bullshit. Beginning of the video, you got to get people watching, got to increase that watch time. You got to get them to buy in or at least get riled up with the rage bait. And so beginning of the video, also quite a lot of bullshit. But at the end, in order to try to keep that credibility, you say, oh, the music comes in. So, well, you know, try it out, see how it goes. Like, they're actually not that bad. I know I said they were shit, but they're not shit, actually. And so again, you cannot trust the word of people who do this. And if a content creator throws out bullshit or like some controversy or a hot take 1 to 5% of the time, fair enough. Maybe you have some unusual opinions. Totally cool. Let's have the conversation. But at this point, RP is like flipping a coin. You know, half the time it's like calories in, calories out. Okay, cool. Progressive overload. Okay, cool, right? And then, oh, rows for the long head of the triceps. What? I mean, you can't bat 50%. In baseball, that's great. In fitness, it's shit. You need 95% at an absolute minimum in order to be even a reasonable source of information. And unfortunately, they are just not. They're not even close to that over the past year or two. I'm not going to say that hammer curls are the best movement ever and you need them in your program all the time, because fighting dogmatism with dogmatism is a dogfight that no one wins. He's right. Try them out. See if they work for you. Give them a shot. Keep them in your program for a few months and see how they treat you. You might find that they are easier on the elbows. You might find that you like the look that they give you, or maybe you don't. But ultimately, I'm not going to put out some clickbait title. Actually, I might use the exact same title as he did, because that I feel okay with replicating that. But in general, when someone is really dogmatic in titles and thumbnails in the beginning, and then they're nuanced at the end, just realize what is going on and the incentives that are going on here. Now, personally, my arms don't seem to have suffered. Okay, actually, they've suffered. They've suffered quite a bit, but they've also grown, and I have found that they are worth including in my program. And in terms of specifics, I like 10 to 15 quite a lot for hammer curl stuff, but I'll do 15 to 20. I think below 10 reps, a little bit below is okay, but if you're doing like triples or sets of 5 on hammer curls, maybe on a cable, but on dumbbells, I don't think it's particularly productive. I like dumbbell, I like cable, I like seated, I like standing, I like double, I like one arm at a time, I like strict, I like with a little bit of oomph. And so yeah, there's a whole bunch of combinations and variations that you can choose from. Basically, as long as you're going like this, and it feels good and you're growing, you're gonna like it. And I also include them in Jojo's programming. Yeah, he has these little tiny dumbbells, and he's getting pretty good at them. He's getting pretty good at them, right? All right, you can go back to sleep. Anyway, if you want more tips and tricks and tweaks and techniques to help you get in the right direction with your training, you can check out my books. I will link them in a pinned comment. They will help you a ton in your journey. They could shave a ton of time off of messing things up. Or maybe you'll keep doing it. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for the support, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.